Recorded Books presents Temptation, Rendezvous with God, Volume 2, by Bill Myers. Narrated by the author. Dedicated to Gary Terashita, a man of faith, integrity, and courage. Batter my heart, three-personed God. For you as yet but knock, breathe, shine, and seek to mend, that I may rise and stand, o'erthrow me, and bend your force to break, blow, burn, and make me new. I, like an usurped town to another due, labor to admit you, but oh, to no end. Reason, your viceroy and me should defend, but is captived and proves weak or untrue. Yet dearly I love you, and would be loved fain, but am betrothed unto your enemy. Divorce me, untie or break that knot again. Take me to you, imprison me, for I, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, nor ever chaste, except you ravish me. John Donne, 1571 to 1631. Part 1. Chapter 1. Dr. Thomas, an irritating voice cut through the din of students leaving with me from my British Lit class. Dr. Thomas! I glanced over my shoulder to see Lucas Harrington, the all-school heartthrob, angling his way through the crowded hall toward me. 6'2", articulate, and always late with assignments, at least those he bothered to complete. What he lacked in work ethics, he more than compensated in charm and manipulation. Think George Clooney meets Eddie Haskell. He sidled up beside me, and I asked, "What can I do for you, Lucas?" "Great lecture today. Of course they always are." "Is this over your Charles Dickens paper?" "What? No, I promise I'll get that to you just as soon as my little brother finishes his chemo." "I thought it was your sister." "Her too. You have my sympathies." "Thanks. Anyway, I just wanted to congratulate you on your big decision." "Decision?" "You know, to become a Christian." I looked at him in surprise. "Who told you I'd—" "Dr. Thomas!" I turned and saw Gretchen Davis rolling up to my other side in her wheelchair. She was the real everything Lucas pretended to be. Thoughtful, sincere, and with so much joy if you weren't careful you could catch it. "Congratulations," she chirped. "For—" "Jenny Buchanan said you received the Lord way back during the holidays." "Christmas," Lucas corrected. "Not holidays, Gretch. Christmas." I glanced uneasily to the others around us. My choice was personal, not something for public consumption, at least not yet, and certainly not by my students. Not that I was trying to hide it. In a few weeks, when the time was right, I'd come out of the closet, though the weeks turned to months with Easter fast approaching. The point is, I was careful to tell no one except Sean Fulton, a close friend of nearly 10 years from the English department, who, with John Lennon glasses and bow tie, was too busy being a free spirit to judge anyone. And, of course, Amber, my 14-year-old niece in the last stages of pregnancy, who kept catching me with an open Bible. Both were safe bets. Sean because he promised confidentiality, and I knew where all his bodies were buried, at least the dozen-plus who dumped him. And Amber, who didn't know anybody in my circle, well, except Darlene Pratford, a gregarious faculty member who never stopped talking and who— I had my answer. Gretchen reached out to give me a knuckle bump. "Welcome to the fam, Doc." I returned it, lowering my voice. Thanks." "So," Lucas continued, "me and Gretch, we were wondering if you'd like to be a sponsor." "A sponsor?" "For Bible Club," he said. "You know, the Christian club here on campus?" Gretchen added, "We meet over at Health Sciences every Thursday at noon." "Oh, that's tomorrow," I said. "That's right," she said. "Don't you already have a sponsor?" Lucas snorted. "Yeah, Dr. Swenson." Gretchen came to Swenson's defense. "She's cool and everything, but it would be super to have two of you. You know, her and someone who's a bit more, progressive, Lucas said. The woman may be hot, but she can really be a tight— Button down, Gretchen interrupted. Right, Lucas said. Button down. We followed the crowd of students through the doors and into the afternoon sun. The morning's cold gray mist, vintage weather for this time in Washington, lifted, and it looked like we might actually be able to see a sunset. I veered to the side ramp for Gretchen's benefit, and for my back I threw out moving boxes of books last week. I appreciate the invite, I said, but it's all pretty new to me. I've got lots to learn. Of course, Gretchen laughed. No one knows everything about God. Except Dr. Swenson, Lucas smirked. They traded grins, which I pretended to ignore. Truth was, Dr. Patricia Swenson, over at the nursing school, was the most attractive woman on campus. Though a bit thin, she could easily pass for a model, the perfect Barbie prototype. The fact her husband Ken left her 18 months ago was one of life's great mysteries. It also made her the target of any uninitiated faculty member or overconfident student who thought they could exploit the situation. It seldom took more than one encounter with that brilliant mind of hers to hamstring their egos. And last semester, for that poor fool who tried to get physical with her, well, reports were her black belt in martial arts did appropriate damage to some appropriate areas. Seriously, Lucas continued, you'd be perfect. I mean, all the students love you. I cut him a look. He countered, well, most of them. Besides, Swenson is hot, and you're both single. Lucas, Gretchen admonished. He shrugged. I'm just saying, so what do you think? I think I'm not quite ready for something like that. No worries, Gretchen said, but you're going to pray about it, right? Right. I threw another glance to the students around us. I'll be sure to do that. Super, she said. Say, Dr. Thomas? Yes, Lucas. About that Dickens paper? I took my cue and headed left on the gravel path leading to faculty parking. I'll see you both in class tomorrow. And maybe noon at lunch, Gretchen said. We'll see. All right, Lucas repeated. And, never able to leave well enough alone, he called out, Praise the Lord, right, Professor? Without turning back, I gave a half wave, grateful to be exiting, but feeling even more guilty for feeling grateful. What was wrong with me? After all I saw and heard, why couldn't I acknowledge becoming the word stuck in my throat like a chicken bone, Christian? Not that I didn't have reasons. Weren't Christians the poster children for mindless bigots and intolerant hypocrites? Oh, sure, there were exceptions, the J.R.R. Tolkiens and Mother Teresas of the world. But seriously, are they the first ones who come to mind when you mention the word? Particularly in this day? And don't even get me started on their politics. So how had I, a professor at a major university, next in line to chair my department, well, until that New Year's Eve fiasco at my house, taken such a reverse step in intelligence and now social status? Unfortunately, I knew the answer. Believe me, I knew. I also knew explaining how I was swept back in time for off-the-record chats with the man himself would do little to defend my position. I shook my head and climbed into the car, a faded green Honda Civic circa 2010. Driving off campus, I took the I-5 and headed for Anacortes to catch the 442 ferry. Of course, I had other concerns, not the least being my daily abandonment of Amber, all alone in the house with just the cat, the dog, and her schizophrenic adolescence. Actually, over the past few months, she'd been doing a lot better, and we were beginning to adjust to one another. In fact, we hardly ever fought. Fighting would mean talking, and talking would involve looking up from her cell phone while simultaneously turning down Netflix. She also started taking GED classes over the internet, and, at Darlene's insistence, was subjecting herself to prenatal checkups. We even managed to pass another child welfare visit, though it meant agreeing to convert my beloved office into her bedroom. However, there were those incessant texts during class. Such dire emergencies as, Carl the cat has fleas, or why do we still have 2% milk in the fridge when she was clearly lactose intolerant? For the record, we'd already gone vegan and were gluten-free. Consequently, I made it my custom to avoid checking messages until I was on the freeway and heading home. Unfortunately, this afternoon, my phone, which had a battery life of roughly 2.3 minutes, was already dead. That left me with no alternative but to return to overthinking my reaction to Lucas and Gretchen. Cindy, my ex, always accused me of living in fear of what other people think. Well, maybe it's true. She certainly said it enough times. But it's not like I committed intellectual suicide by making the decision. I did my research. I won't bore you with what I discovered. Well, okay, I'm still a little defensive, so indulge me just a bit. Like the hundreds of archaeological sites confirming the Bible's accuracy? Or the historians who can trace the life of Christ through ancient documents without ever once referring to the Bible? And how about those devout atheists who set out to disprove the resurrection, then wound up becoming rabid believers? Still, it was my encounters that did me in. Seriously, how could someone I saw to be so wise and caring constantly claim to be the only way to God? Not exactly a compassionate and open-minded scholar. Like C.S. Lewis, I couldn't wrap my mind around some great teacher making this and other outrageous claims. A raving egotist? Sure. A con artist? You bet. But not the loving miracle worker I became so fond of. So, was I a traitor for not running out and buying the latest Jesus My BFF t-shirt? Or slapping some bumper sticker on my car? For the record, Nietzsche is dead. God is my favorite. I wasn't sure, but the guilt and questions dogged me all the way to the ferry terminal. Once I boarded, parked the car, and headed out onto the deck to stretch my legs, it happened again. A hot wind hit me from behind. I turned and, just like old times, found myself transported to an arid, desolate countryside. I was part of a small crowd shouting and dragging him along the rim of a steep precipice.